What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Hot Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Roshan, alongside my co-host, as always, Keaton Anemacher.
What's up, guys? We're glad to be back after the holiday season, right? It's good to be back. It was a good long vacation, some good eating, good seeing some family members and getting away for a bit. But yeah, if we're glad you guys are back with us. We're glad to be back with you. If you're still a part of the podcast group, if you're still liking what you're hearing, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter. It's at the Hot Corner Pod. And hit us up with some questions, recommendations, some ideas maybe. And what do you think? What do we got on the agenda for today?
For sure, yeah. Before I start, I would like to obviously wish everyone a happy holidays. Make sure we include everyone who's listening in that regard. But in terms of what we're talking about today, we are going to start. Our teams both made some significant additions, I'd say myself, in regards to our outfield, starting with the Twins and Joey Gallo. I know you had some statistics you wanted to talk about, and you just want to talk about the signing in general.
Yeah, well, in general, it's not like a big deal that's jump off the page like crazy. I'm not excited. I'm not mad. I'm just pretty whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very low-risk, high-reward guy.
Yeah.
He's very similar to, like, a Cody Bellinger, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the ceiling is massive. I mean, that guy could hit, I think, 50 home runs.
So the thing is, he has, everybody remembers he has 2 years where he hit, like, 40.
Well, yeah, he's
hopefully we can get him back to that. But in those days, he was like a threat. Everybody thought of him as, like, the next big Josh Hamilton out of Texas, He was with the Rangers, and the last few years he was with the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The Yankees, obviously, it's like a Bellinger, although he didn't switch teams. The Yankees, he didn't do so hot on, which we know.
Which I think might help getting away from that.
Yeah, and we will say, as your statistics show, he has stayed the same defender, which has always been a strong suit of his. As well as, he's always been, even in his best years, he's always a strikeout guy. You're always, what you're going to get out of Joey Gallo. He's not going to hit over 240, most likely, a year.
No,
he's not an average guy.
He's a career 199 hitter.
Wow, that's actually awful. I never even knew that.
Yeah.
Although, it's averages in his game. I didn't know he was that low.
Even when he was hitting 40 home runs a year, he was hitting, like, 205.
Jeez.
So, yes, he can hit him out the park, but he's like Adam Dunn with elite fielding. So, however you want to look at that is, however you want to look at that. But the way I see it basically as just a replacement for Kepler because I think they'll trade him. But if you look at Gallo's hard hit percentage, so here, I'll go over his Savant page real quick. He's 94th percentile in hard hit percentage, so he's still smacking the crap out of the ball. He's still, averaging a hard hit every single time he hits the ball. And he's 95th percentile in walk percentage. So you talk about how much, like, the average sucks.
Right, well, with the strikeouts, if he's getting on base...
Thank God for that.
I mean, that's half the battle, though. If you're 95 percentile, did I hear that right?
Yeah.
In walk percentage, just in general, that guy's getting on base.
Thank God.
At an elite level,
even though it's
with
low.
His strikeout rate.
Yeah.
Right. Where the OPS and obviously on base stats are going to suffer just because of strikeouts.
And this is why he's similar to a Kepler because Kepler got on base even though he had a low average. Kepler had elite defense. Gallo has elite defense. They're both lefties. They both have some pop in the bat. I'd say Gallo, though, has bigger pop than Kepler.
Right. I think Gallo has a lot.
He's 90.
Max Kepler.
Listen to this. Gallo was 98th in barrel percentage.
Wow.
98th.
Yeah.
So he barrels up just as much as anyone in baseball.
So it begs the question, Max Kepler, he's who
gone.
He is. Not that you don't know who Joey Gallo is.
He's got to be
gone,
though.
But it's just, there's so much more upside. I would even argue Gallo's a better defender, and I know Kepler's super good at defense.
Yeah.
And that's what you're keeping him around for at this point, right? Or
Kepler is
Gallo, right?
Kepler is the better right fielder, but Gallo is the better outfielder.
Yeah, because he's played left.
He
and
plays
can,
all of them.
Right. He could probably play center. I think he's
And
played center.
and that's going to be nice having an actual backup center fielder to Buxton. We haven't had that. We just have Celestino.
Right. You kind of have
And
like
he can't be put out there every time Buxton's
They have a
hurt.
serviceable guy.
Gallo can play center.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
And listen to this: his arm strength is 90th percentile. So put him in center, he's got the arm for it. Put him in right, he's got the arm for it. He's got an 86th percentile in jump, so he can go get it. He's tall, he's big. It'll just be nice to have him out there. He was top 10 in isolated power in 2022. So out of all the MLB hitters, he was top 10 in ISO. That's just pure power. That's just like how many times your hits go for extra bases, basically.
So with all those stats in mind, a couple questions I have regarding to you as a Twins fan. So first, we've already kind of brought this up. What do you think happens with Max Kepler? Where do you trade him? Do you have a need you need to fill? What do you think happens there?
Well, here's the thing. Well, again, so since 2019, Kepler is 6th in outfield DRS.
Hey, so elite defensively, he's sick.
But since 2021, Gallo is 6th.
Right, they both defend. That's why.
So
Kepler
actually,
he has to go.
I know this sounds kind of crazy, but what if the Twins tried to trade like Larnick or Kirilloff?
Oh, so you're saying keep
and
Kepler.
they keep Kepler and move Gallo to left, and I don't know. There's something they like Kepler. He has an option on his deal too, so if Kepler has a decent season, they'll give him an option. I think it's very unlikely, but yeah, I think Kepler should be traded to the Marlins. To answer your question.
Okay, and what do you think you should get back? What do you want back as a need?
Either a reliever or package someone in a deal for Pablo Lopez.
I was gonna say, I know you mentioned Pablo Lopez because when we were talking off
the Marlins have had interest in Kepler for a long time.
Well, yeah, we had interest in dealing them one of our catchers for a pitcher. I know they're willing to deal one of their pitchers just if their offer's right. So.
I'd be down for a young guy too. Everybody talks about Lopez, Alcantara, and maybe even Rogers, but I kind of like Max Meyer. I like Edward Cabrera. I'd try to be really creative here.
The only thing from the Marlins' perspective is specifically with Meyer and Cabrera. Those are, I feel like, futuristic guys where it's like those are franchise guys.
Maybe Sixto Sanchez then.
So I can see Sixto Sanchez. I can see two guys getting moved.
Sixto had that pedigree, but it's kind of gone away with injury.
He's fallen under the dust with them. He's still in the rotation.
Yeah.
But their priorities right now are, I would say, Lopez and Alcantara. Where I would say even Lopez is available, sure, and Cabrera, should I say, those three. I think Meyer's available. I think Rogers available as well.
Even younger guys too, like their prospect Yuri Perez. I would like to even just flip Kepler for a prospect.
There's something significant about a Miami Marlins pitching prospect nowadays too. Those guys are all homegrown that we named.
I would take
every single one of them.
Because Gio Urshela got a prospect back. Why not just trade Kepler for a prospect? If no one wants him in a package deal, then we'll have to just trade Kepler for a prospect and try to get a starter somewhere.
Okay, so that begs the question then. Not to bring Correa into this, but without Correa signing and, with them pivoting a little bit to Gallo, what do you think the Twins' position now is? Do you think you need to play around with prospects? Are we retooling? Are we rebuilding?
They need to trade prospects.
Okay. Or trade for prospects.
Listen, they have a surplus of left-handed hitters.
Okay.
So they have Larnick, Kirilloff, Wallner, Gordon, and Julian. All 5 of them are valuable, very valuable. By signing Gallo, one of them has to go. Kepler, and I think maybe Larnick, maybe Gordon. Look, the Marlins would be kind of cool with Nick Gordon. He's a young energizer. He's a spark plug.
Reminiscent of his brother.
He just broke out. Gordon just had a big year. No one even talks about him. He had a big year. He had like a 115, 110 OPS plus with a bunch of doubles, and he just had a breakout year. So I think a guy like that who can bounce around for Miami might be a solid pickup for them. But yeah, other than that, they got to trade Kepler and another bat.
Of course.
to get a right-handed bat or just honestly anything. At this point, they've missed out on everybody. I just want to try to get some pieces for maybe the next season or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the Twins, believe it or not, are in a pretty
If they're healthy,
unique
they'll
position.
compete. I think they're kind of at that point.
Right. Well, they're in a unique position where they're in no means bad enough to sell the team. They're in no means bad enough to start the rebuild. But they're also, they can hang on a couple years. They can, they have their prospects that are coming up. They have guys under control to where it's, they can sit in the driver's seat and
We're the
Derek
fourth
Falvey
youngest team.
And Derek Falvey can sit there and go, okay, what do I need to do in terms of, do I want to put this team in full drive? Do I want to wait back for 2024? Like, they have a lot of options that they could go forward with. So as a Twins, as a Twins fan yourself, and as somebody who's observing from my end, I think they're kind of in a really, really cool position of where, you get Gallo.
They can afford
right?
to get creative.
Right, and you get Gallo, and now it's, let me see what we can do. And now you get creative with a package to send elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
So it's, do we want starting pitching? Or, again, do we want to go get Pablo Lopez, or do we want to revert back and say, hey, let me go get a prospect, and instead start getting future.
Because if they really can't get someone, you have Louis Varland, Simeon Woods Richardson, Winder, Balazovic. You have all these guys who can just fill the role for a year. So if it doesn't work out, they do have that fallback option, like you said, where they're not bad enough to just sell, but they're not good enough to be top of their division yet or top of the AL, obviously.
I would say that division is wide open. But
once they make a few
AL,
moves,
yes.
once they make a few moves, they'll be at the top of that division,
right,
in my opinion. And so, but just to wrap up the Gallo conversations as a way to transition into the next point, I really think the Twins have been focusing on defense with Gallo and Vasquez. Both of them are just elite.
I mean, that's obviously Kepler might go, but that's an upgrade in my eyes, regardless of how you slice it.
Yeah, and it's only $2.5 extra million.
You're talking about switching Gary Sanchez for Christian Vasquez. That's the biggest upgrade there is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, defensively.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said earlier, Gallo ranks 6th in the MLB in total outfield DRS since 2021. And now a guy I wanted to mention who is even better than Gallo in that department since 2021 is the recent addition for the Blue Jays, Daulton Varsho. He has 23 defensive runs saved, which is 3rd in the outfield since 2021. So you take left field, you take right field, you take center field. He and Gallo are both the 6th and 3rd best outfielders in the game.
That's quite the package.
That's
obviously
awesome.
On different teams, but that's quite a couple additions.
It's cool how they both ended up on the same pod.
Yeah, right.
And it's cool how we talked about Bellinger and his elite defense. We talked about Kiermaier, his elite defense. And then we talked about Gallo, now Varsho. We've brought up Kepler. It's like our outfield's defense are just elite. Buxton, we didn't even mention Buxton. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
talk to me about Varsho.
So here's the thing. All right, so we finally got the left-handed bat that we've been talking all 6 or 7 episodes before this about, right? We were wondering where the Blue Jays going to move a catcher for, and then there was even a time a couple weeks ago where it was like, were we even going to trade any of the catchers? Were we going to hold on to all 3? And we finally made the move for, in my opinion, arguably the best possible move outside of Brian Reynolds, outside of Brandon Nimmo, which we know signed for a ridiculous amount anyways. But yeah, so we got Daulton Varsho.
You traded him for Moreno.
Right.
You traded Moreno and
yeah,
Gurriel.
So let me get in. Yeah, I'll dig into the trade a little bit. So the trade in specific, I am actually really happy with it for the reason that I didn't, the more I dug into it, because Jansen was always the rumored one to go, the more I dug into it, I knew Moreno was probably the best option, but obviously you want to hold on to that prospect status. So I am very glad that we let him go because what we get back is so much more significant on our end. We get that left-handed bat, as you were talking about, which I'm going to dive into right here. Defensively, we are absolutely, if not the most elite outfield, we are one of them.
Yeah.
We are one of them, if not the most.
Yeah.
Kiermaier, Varsho,
Look at the bottom.
and then Springer.
These are the ranks of our MLB outfield.
Right.
You have the third best, Gallo's 6th, Buxton's 7th, Kiermaier's 10th, Kepler and Larnick are in the 17th, 14th, whatever. I mean, that is literally the most elite 2 outfields in the AL, if not the MLB.
Of course.
In my opinion. That's like, look at those.
Dude, I mean...
Those are MLB ranks. That's not AL or that's not right field, left field. That's all 3 positions, all 30 teams.
Right, when you look at it, I mean, again, from the side of him being a left-handed bat, let's put that aside because a 4.9 B-WAR, he accumulated just literally via defense. Ridiculous.
And the stolen bases.
And again,
16.
And again, don't hit his bat because he's got 27 home runs. Chase Field, I don't think it's a hitter's ballpark whatsoever.
No, it's
I don't
not.
know if it's necessarily a pitcher's ballpark. I think it probably would be considered a pitcher's ballpark. But dude,
He's a pull hitter, so he just cranks them.
just everything about a guy like Varsho is everything we needed. Defensively, he
has a lot of room to go up too.
Of course. I'm very happy with the move we made in the end. I'm glad we didn't pay for Brian Reynolds. I'm glad we still have Ricky Tiedemann. Moreno kind of stings a little bit. Gurriel doesn't as much just for the reason that, he had a year left.
Yeah.
And we were going to probably give him up anyway.
And I was going to say, you're winning now, so trading a prospect doesn't hurt as much as trading a Jansen or a Kirk.
Well, yeah, this tells us this is a 100% a win-now move by Ross Atkins in the front office. I'm very happy that we're committed to having this team win. Varsho, and I'm not just saying
Even
this
though
because we finally
Varsho's
got him.
controllable, it's a future and win now move.
Well, you're giving up Moreno. It has to be controllable, right? You can't just get a guy for 1 to 2 years. Where in the aspect of it all, Varsho is a guy who, again, is exactly what we needed. He's exactly what we wanted. And we didn't pay, we wanted to give away a catcher anyways. And from the Diamondbacks' perspective, not to, obviously switch off topic because we're talking about Varsho, but from the Diamondbacks' perspective, it's a great move on both sides. They're trading out of their surplus of outfields, which, by the way, if none of you are looking at the Diamondbacks, they are young and upcoming with those outfielders. I mean, they were able to... Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, Seth Beer. They got Ketel Marte out there. They've got Lourdes now, even though I don't think he's really a part of their future. He might be just a deadline piece.
Yeah, if it works, they can trade him for a nice solid prospect.
They were like, okay, let's go get Moreno. Let's have our future catcher, which was an idea in our head. But obviously, we have Kirk and Jansen who are filling the spot. And Moreno is way too good to be sitting on the bench now. He's way too good to be sitting on the bench. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
He's reached that age. I'm happy for him. He gets his stardom. He gets to go perform in Arizona. And we get our guy that we so desperately needed in Daulton Varsho, right?
And he's a guy we kind of didn't mention because we weren't really assuming that he would be highly... we talked about Bellinger.
Right.
Who else did we talk about? Bellinger, Gallo, Nimmo, Conforto.
Right. Well, it's funny you mention that for the reason that I always was on Varsho, but the reason I didn't really bring him up and mention him is because I just thought it was just too much. I didn't know what package he would take. I knew
you also didn't think you'd give up Gurriel. Like you thought
I didn't.
You would just have to give up something else for him, and that's why you didn't think.
Well, no, I actually did think we would have to give up something like that, and I didn't think the Jays were committed to do that, but the way they formatted it and the way you look into it, and after the Kiermaier edition makes it so much even further better because now you realize, okay, run prevention was this entire thing. I told you this off audio, before the offseason started, the front office was preaching run prevention. I'm sure they got haunted by that playoff play by George Springer and Bo Bichette. That can't happen again, right? So you get Chris Bassett. You get Kevin Kiermaier, and then you go and you get Daulton Varsho. I mean, I've never heard of more run prevention in my life, right? I'm not just saying that because it's the Blue Jays, but they did what they set out to do. And in the process, in Kiermaier, even though he's not a big bat, they added 2 left-handed bats, which evens, should I say, out the lineup. you know,
Still room for another one, but you
and
got your two.
There is rumors that they are looking into more options, but again, they
Maybe
would
a
probably
switch hitter here and
maybe
there.
a switch hitter. I would love the Jorge Polanco
If you
but-
can find one, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. But I would say the puzzle's almost complete for the offseason with the Varsho move. I mean, this is the big move that we're gonna have. We're not gonna go, trade for more guys. I mean, if we do, it would be somebody like, if say a Polanco or something like that. We're not gonna make the biggest splash anymore. That was the big splash, and I'm very happy with that. I'm very content with what we used everything for, and yeah, I'm really ready for to see Varsho out there.
And with Varsho, I think he has room to get better and better. Like, yes, he hits a low average, but he cranks. And yes, his hard hit exit velos aren't high, but his barrel percentage is not bad.
Dude, just think about
He's like a 70%.
Think about a world, and I don't care who it is, but he's on the rise with his baseball savant. Think about a world with anybody in specific for, moving from the NL West to the AL East. Just think about the significance in ballparks. Think about significance in.
Where's he gonna hit in the lineup?
He's projected right now in the Jays lineup to go 4 through 6.
I'd put him 5th. Yeah,
I would give him 5th. I'm even comfortable with him protecting Vlad at the 4th spot.
He just looks. Looks like a 5th.
I just think his power numbers are gonna jump so much next year. I really do think it's a guy who could hit 35 homers easily. I mean, the way he performed last year, the way he
That'd be cool.
So I just think, and again, the left-handed bat, you got to be able to switch it on the pitchers, because if you hit him in the 5 or 6 hole, you're starting to get him closer to Kiermaier, to where he could throw on a lefty reliever, and he could come in again. Now that we have these 2 left-handed bats, which again, hopefully we add one more, but now that you have 2 left-handed bats, and you know this problem from the opposite perspective of having too many left-handed bats, right? Now we got to put them in, and we have to dodge the left-handed relievers. We need the gap between Varsho and Kiermaier
you only have
ahead.
Yeah, as long as it's 2 or 3 guys away, you're good.
Right.
I would put him right in the 5th spot. It's perfect.
I agree.
I'd put Kiermaier last.
And Varsho led off for the Diamondbacks last year. He was like 1, 2, and 5 or something. And I think, and then he even had against lefties, he hit like 7th and 8th, because he's just not good against lefties.
Yeah.
But I would, I know Springer's our leadoff guy, and we're gonna keep him there. But I'd be cool with Springer, Varsho. I'd be cool with that. Bo is so movable. You could put him in the 4 hole, put him in the 3 hole. You can move Vlad down to 4.
But you're gonna put Springer in left field for defense, right?
No.
Really?
So the rumor is we're gonna put Varsho in left.
What? Really?
Not a fan of it.
Yeah, me neither.
But I think that's something that they're looking for spring training, and this is what they're thinking, and I get what they're thinking. Because this is what Ross Ekins just confirmed, that he's going to play left field. I think they're thinking in their head. I give Kiermaier center 100%. That's his. Okay.
Yeah. That's
Springer
fine.
can walk to right, but I think they're thinking of it more of a George Springer perspective of he's never played left. George Springer's always been in right. He's been a right and center fielder. He's never
more
played
comfort
left.
for him.
More comfort. And Varsho is so athletic and so good that you can just stick him where you want him, and then he'll do what you want him to do.
It'll be like having a prime Alex Gordon.
Yeah, and exactly. Perfect example. And the only thing it's a perfect example. The only thing I'm unhappy about is left field is obviously, in my opinion, in probably years too, the least important outfield position.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't want to...
It's a bonus if
But again, if
fielder.
Springer's really that much reliability in left, I'm sure what they're going to do, they're going to save Varsho as the left fielder, but then they're going to test it in spring training. And if they realize, hey, Springer can play left, I think without a doubt, with a snap of the finger, they move Varsho.
And it might end up not even being a concern at all. And
of course.
We're going to come back and be like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a concern at all. I think I've seen Springer play right. I know he can do it. I know what Kiermaier does in center.
But in the end, might just come back and be like, yeah, Springer's fine in right, Varsho's fine in left.
Right.
We don't need to. We didn't need to worry.
Yeah.
But it's still something to think about, and like it'll be interesting to see how they attack that, because I just think it's gonna be fun to watch all the web gems, and also I think also if he's in right field and he's used, I mean, when you've played your whole life watching the ball come off the bat at a certain angle. Like, and then all of a sudden you flip that entire side of the field and you have to watch the ball come off the bat at a totally opposite angle, like that's a totally different muscle mechanism for him. He has to turn different ways. He has to like throw to different cutoff men. He has to be listening for different signals. And so yeah, it might just be like we're gonna stick him in right for now because that's the easiest. And honestly, he shouldn't be too much of a liability in right anyways.
No, Springer. No, let me tell you.
Even if he's league
Let me tell you,
average.
Springer is not. He is not by any means. I know he's 33 years old, but he is still an above average fielder.
He'll be all right.
He is an above average fielder regardless of where you put him. Even in center, if we kept him in there, he's an above average center fielder. Does he belong there? No. But however,
But if he had to be
if
there,
he had to
he'd
be there,
fine.
he played a great, not a great. He played a good, reliable center field last year.
I thought you guys were gonna go for like Ramon Laureano or something.
You know, and
That would have been a cool fit.
I'm happy we didn't, just for the left-handed bat fit.
Yeah.
But I agree with defensively aspect
Right.
speaking, right?
Because both of our teams went for defense, clearly.
Yeah. And I can't complain, dude.
Right.
And, you know, there's a bunch of... We talked about Kiermaier with replacing value of Teoscar Hernandez, right, with defense. Now it's like with Lourdes out of the picture, too. Which Lourdes, again, is a converted infielder who we put in left because we had nobody else, and he came up with the core.
Yeah.
Now
He
we...
was a solid hitter, just a
He
solid
was a solid.
guy.
He has a cannon of an arm, but nothing else in left. He was not a good fielder.
Yeah.
Teoscar is not a good fielder. You replace those two with Kiermaier and Varsho, who are at the top of their percentile at positions, and it's just a completely different perspective.
It's a different
value-wise.
form of value. Yes.
And I love it.
It's a different form of production.
And if you were to ask me going into the offseason, I would have told you we need a big bat, we need a big splash, if we're going to give away Teoscar, we need freaking a guy who's going to hit 50 homers. Like, obviously, that'd be dramatic.
Yeah,
but you get the point.
because the thing, you're basically switching what you had. You're taking the power bats and you're taking the home runs and power. That helps your pitching staff. But now you're saying we're going to give you defense and speed that helps our pitching staff.
Yeah, and
So you're getting that production just in a different way.
Of course, and I like the
great.
perspective that Ross Atkins is looking at because again, we have the offense. Okay, we've been a top 5 offense for the past 4 to 5 years at this point, right? Maybe more like 3 to 4. But in the aspect that you have a top offense, we're not worried. We don't need to worry about offense, right? We can just sit here and
You can afford to lose
We can
Gurriel.
use and Teoscar as long as we replace them accordingly. But now the thing that hasn't worked out is pitching and defense. And now it's like all of a sudden, realistically, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Jays fan, but since Vlad won the Gold Glove, now it's like we have a Gold Glove first baseman, we have a top of the line second baseman fielding wise in Espinal. Merrifield's pretty good fielding there. Gold Glove, freaking platinum glove over there at third, and Matt Chapman. Mm-hmm. And obviously Bo is the liability now.
Yeah.
But now you got left field Varsho, center field Kiermaier, both Gold Glove potential.
Heck,
I think.
and
then
if one of your
Springer
catchers goes down,
Mr. Daulton Varsho is right there.
that's so weird how
You
he
know
can
what?
just play catcher.
Before we wrap this up, it's something really funny about Daulton Varsho is I have personal experience. I've actually met him before. I used to go to the Northwoods League Kenosha Kingfish games, and he was at the All-Star game when they held it in Kenosha.
Cool.
And I met him because he led the league in home runs at the time, the Northwoods League. Yeah, they have a lot of... I remember meeting him, and, obviously never even thought he would make it too far in the MLB. And it's so funny because me and my dad would joke around because my dad would go to me at those games, and he'd be like, it's funny. We were like, Daulton Varsho got drafted, and we were laughing about it, not like as a joke, but because
here we are.
Knew him. And then it was like Daulton Varsho's a Diamondback. Now he's a prospect for them. And then it's like, and then as of last year, it's like, God, Daulton Varsho's kind of good. And now this year, it's like Daulton Varsho's on the Toronto Blue Jays.
That's how it
it's
works
just funny.
sometimes.
It's just funny the personal connection of seeing him when he was like in college to now, him blossoming and being a huge part of my team. It's pretty insane when you look at it like that.
Yeah, very insane.
All right.
Should we wrap it up now?
I think we should wrap it up. Thank you for everybody who listened. I hope you enjoyed whatever you were here to listen for.
Check out our other videos for other recent news. We've touched on other outfielders, other infielders, and acquisitions. Hit us up on Twitter at the Hot Corner Pod. Leave a comment on YouTube if you like what you're hearing. We'll see you guys next episode.
All right, yep.